So she was 19 when she went there, and she was an innocent 19-year-old, and she came from a great family, and she met this man, and totally just it was brutal. It was very sadistic the way she was tortured by him, and the way my brother and myself were, and that broke me and my brother up. My brother loved my father a lot. He saw something very different than I saw, because whenever my mom and I would get beat, my brother, I'm not calling him a coward by any means, he handled it very different than I did. He would go in his room. He didn't want to see the beatings. I would protect my mother. So in that, I saw a lot more of the violence. I was trying to protect her, and me trying to protect her, I really got beat. So when you're constantly in that battle, in that struggle, and your brother's going in a different room because he didn't want any part of this shit. He hated it, and he loved family. You know, he loves family. And I became the person like, hey, man, I'm not about it. When you look in that mirror for so long and you're lying to yourself and you're lying to people, because I grew up in such a hostile environment from my dad beating the shit out of me. When you don't know right from wrong and you're just getting the shit kicked out of you because your dad's an alcoholic and all he does is beat you to death because that's what he does. And as a kid, you don't know up from down, right from left, right and wrong, and you grow up in this very misguided way of thinking. All you want to do is change your circumstances, and in that circumstances, your mom is in that also. So your mom, who's a good woman, you see her start to change. She starts to get lost in the violence of my father. So now you're in this hellhole, and this is where you live, and this is where you exist. So now to find myself, there was no mentors for me. There was no one that said, hey, this is how you do this. You know, I pretty much skipped all of school. I cheated all through school. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. It was like having a kid and putting that motherfucker in the sewer and saying, I hope you fucking come out one day. That was my mentality. I had a learning disability. I was stuttering. I was battling so much shit that I never even told my mom about, because she was battling her own demons. So at 8 years old, I'm looking for comfort, and I'm like, hey, don't bother your mom with shit. You were not the man of the house. And I started becoming real protective of my mother at a young age. So whatever you're going through, man, you're on your fucking own. You're not gonna tell your mom shit. And she ended up finding out later through the school systems and through me failing and through me, you know, all these issues I went through. She found out a lot. But, you know, I kept as much as I could from her, man. And that really was a hard task for me to raise yourself mentally when you're already in the deepest, darkest dungeon of all time. And I think that's where I started really creating myself. I had to really start creating a certain pattern, a certain process, a certain kind of indestructible toolbox to handle my life. So I had to literally talk about, you know, a man. I had to make a man who I thought a man was supposed to be in my mind. I created what I thought a man was supposed to be in my mind. And that's what I started doing. So I looked at myself in the mirror, and when I looked at myself in the mirror, man, I wasn't proud of who I was. And I kept on backsliding. And I made the decision. When I was 297 pounds, I gained 125 pounds. I was 175 to 297. Had left the military, left the Air Force, and I was working for Ecolab, making $1,000 a month. I was at the bottom of the fucking barrel. I'd become exactly what life had made me, and what I had made me too. I said, I'm gonna die trying. I don't give a fuck what it does to me. I don't give a fuck if I break myself off. I don't care if I lose legs. I don't care if I have stress. I don't care what it is. I don't care how much pain I go through. I don't care, but this reflection in the mirror will change, or I will die trying. I will not look at this guy in the mirror anymore, because I can lie to you right now. It started off with the Rocky and Rambo movies. Right. You know, those were kind of like my fathers when I was coming up. But then when I finally met this guy named Scott Guerin, this guy that fell off, you know, he had a parachute accident. A guy crashed through his parachute, and he fell 13,000 feet, pretty much to his death, because his parachute collapsed, and he fell 120 miles an hour to the ground. I mean,
that picture in the book.
It's disgusting, yeah. Right? And so he hit the ground, and I met him a couple years later at this CAP, Civil Air Patrol camp. And I'm sitting there, and no kid was like amazed by him. You know, he's like, okay, this is a great story. I'm a kid, let's go. I'm sitting, he comes out, and I was amazed by Rambo. like at a young guy, like, oh my God, this is the real Rambo. He came out. He had, he got his throat cut open to open up his airway. And so I saw he got trached, and I saw all these different things. I was like, my God, he came out talking all like Clint Eastwood, and he shared the story, and it's all hardcore. And I started following this guy, but he knew I was following him. So for a week long, he did push-ups and flutter kicks, and I was like, man, that is the real Rambo. I go back to that mirror every fucking night, and I usually shave my head almost every damn night, and I gotta sit there for fucking 15 minutes and look at myself in the mirror. And that reflection is telling me every fucking thing I'm not. And it starts to, some of us are allowed to go away from that. I was haunted. Every day, 24 hours a fucking day, this voice would be in my head, hey motherfucker, you ain't shit. This is what you're gonna be the rest of your life, man. To the point I said, you know what? I'm gonna break myself off, man, trying to fix this person. So that's why it's worth it, because now sitting in front of you today, I earned the right to be broken. And people go, man, what does that mean? Every scar, every wound, every broken bone, every issue I had, even all these fucking little marks come my body, it comes from sacrifice, trying to become someone. And I'm not saying do what I did. My life took me down a journey that almost forced me to propel myself to where I went. It was worth it. I was looking for strength my entire life. I didn't have any. I was a really weak kid. My dad beat the living shit out of me and I was strong as a young kid. But me protecting my mom for so many years in that house, my dad made me very afraid because he beat the shit out of me every time I went at him. So in that, every man wants courage. Every man wants strength. At least this one does. So I found it in every way possible. And when I see a strong guy, I was like, okay, maybe he can teach me. So he didn't know anything about me. So time went on, I left school, and then this guy was in my mind. We had zero money, man. Like at one time, we lived in a $7 a month place, government subsidized apartments. Now we live in like a $200 place at this time. I ran on a $500 phone bill. And back then, dude, and having no money, my mom wanted to kill me. I was in search of Scott Garrett.
Yeah, no Google, no
Google, no nothing.
You're just randomly calling up bases?
Air Force bases, man. Calling up Air Force bases, man. Hey, do you know what Scott Garrett? What do you mean? I'm like, who's Scott Garrett? I'm like, he's a pararescueman. A what? Because, pararescueman, there's not a lot of them. So I started getting, okay, there's a PJ base here, a pararescue base here. So I started tracking down pararescue bases. Finally, Key West, Florida. He's a scuba instructor down there in Key West, Florida. I leave a message. He calls back, gets a hold of my mom. I'm like, I cannot believe this guy called me back. My first question to him was, hey man, can I come stay with you for a week? He's like, who the fuck are you, man? He knew who the fuck I was. The guy let me come stay with him for a week. Honestly, man, I'm very grateful for it. I'm more grateful for that than being a CEO, going to Ranger School, anything I've done in my life. So people always go they come to my house, and I've done so many races and so many different things. I don't have an I love you wall. You walk in my house, it's like you see the decorations on the fucking wall what my fucking fiance has done. There's nothing about me. They go, why is that? Man, you've done so much in your life. Man, all this shit up here is priceless. Like everything I've gone through, all this, like the journey of my life has been something that I can never ever be able to say enough about. It is who I am. Like everybody wants to be proud of themselves. When you finally become proud of yourself, you no longer give a flying fuck what it took to get there. And that's people always say, man, look at you, man. You have all this stuff happen to your skin and your body's broken, this and that. The feeling I have in my mind is priceless. And it's not going to say, do it over again to get this feeling again. I do it all over again.
Do it.
All over again.
Interesting.
With a smile on my face. Roger that. I think he said about 4 words to me in the entire week. We PT'd together, and I didn't need to hear a word from him. He didn't talk a lot. He was an instructor. I would go to school or to scuba school with him. He would instruct. I'd sit on the couch for 10 hours. Sit in the lounge on the fucking couch for 10 hours. He'd come back, pick me up, we go for a run, he'd go home, we ate fish every fucking day because we had to go out in the ocean, like I would go lobster hunting. I hate the fucking water, I was scared to death, but this guy went in, so I'm going in. And I left there with just one big thing. I that's what I want to be. I want to be a guy like that.
It honestly came from, I was a big time movie guy. So we had no money. We lived in a $7 a month place growing up for a long period of time until my mom finally got enough money to move out. My best friend, his name was Johnny Nichols growing up. His parents had 2 VCRs. So they would go to Blockbuster, whatever the fuck it was called back then, get a movie, and they would fucking illegally record the movie. So I would come over there, and I would go to Johnny's house, and every fucking Sunday and Saturday, they had like fucking 1,000 movies, man. And I would go over there and start watching movies. That's what I did. They would be home, I'd walk in the house, start watching fucking movies. And one of the movies I watched was Rocky. And I got obsessed with Rocky, and I got obsessed with Platoon, and Rambo, and all those fucking kind of war movies and shit, Predator and shit. And I saw all these fucking badass guys. And one scene that particularly, I probably broke his damn VCR trying to watch this one scene. One scene that changed my life was only 2 minutes and 13 seconds, I believe around there, was Rocky 1, round 14. I talk about it all the fucking time, but it literally fucked me up. Like, look at how you're watching something, and you get this weird feeling over yourself, like, God, that was fucking special. And you get chills, and you get kind of almost emotional, you get kind of choked up in your throat.
Being a pararescue man, trying to be a pararescue man, there was a lot of things I didn't know about. And not having a mentor, not having, Scott was there, he really wasn't. I met him for a week. I saw him maybe a couple times, and I started bugging the shit out of him. He was a busy guy, had a family, so I was back on my own. And I did the best I could. And trying to be a pararescue, I finally passed the ASVAB test after taking it several times. And when you cheat your whole life in high school and elementary school, I had about 4th grade reading level. So I talk about that a lot in the book, and I had to learn so much school in 6 months. And that's when I really developed my work ethic. People think it's from running and other things. No, it's not from SEALs, it's not from running. It was from the countless hours teaching myself how to fucking read and write. I had a tutor for 1 hour. 1 hour every single week is all we could afford. So for 6 months, I saw a tutor 1 hour a week. All the rest was on me. My mom was working 3 jobs. She was never home. I sat at this fucking table. I'm like, I have to get in the military.
So basically now, I'm sitting there, I'm real young, going through all my hardships, just left Buffalo, New York. My dad beat the shit out of me, and I have nothing. And never had this feeling before of watching inspiration. I didn't know what inspiration was. I didn't know what any of that shit was. I just knew, like, just pain and suffering and shit. So when I saw this guy who was Rocky getting knocked down and getting up, so I was intrigued. So I sat back and watched it a little bit more. And Apollo was supposed to be the best person in boxing, and he knocks this fucker down in the corner. And what brought my attention was it was like a perfect storm for me, where the music was perfect. It was a perfect scene for me to almost gain strength. And I see this guy in the corner who reminded me of me. Guy couldn't read, talked all fucked up, just kind of this dumb boxer. But he had something that I wanted. And Mickey was saying, his trainer was saying, stay down.
Right.
And he didn't hear anybody. He didn't give a fuck. All this guy wanted to do was go the distance. He didn't want to win. He just wanted to be able to go the distance. And when he stood up, off getting knocked down for the 30th time, I'll never forget the look when Apollo Creed finally thinks he won. His back is turned to Rocky as Rocky's getting up, and as Mickey's saying, stay down. And once Apollo turns around, he looks at Rocky. That he's now standing up in the corner. And the referee is standing beside Rocky. Rocky's like, hey, man, I'm fucking good. And when Apollo turns around, the look on this massive man who's the best boxer in the world, his face is just distraught. Like, what the fuck? Who the fuck are you, man? And when he's kind of wobbling in the corner, he's all fucked up. And he's like, no, man, not today. I just want to go against the best. I want to know that I am somebody. And he gets his gloves and he motions him back over. And Apollo's face, he like puts his face down and shakes his head, and I'm like, that's what I want. That's what I want.
And how that came to be, man, my mom got a letter from school, and this is when I had to reveal myself and all my secrets. The secret came out, man, that I wasn't going to school, that I had flunked most of my classes. I had my report card in there for everybody to see, one of them, and it was revealed.
E's and F's and that.
Yeah, it was a nice report card. Thanks a lot, Rich. I appreciate it. Yeah,
You put it in there,
I put it in there, man. But you have to talk about it right now. It was yes, a very embarrassing report card, and she was like, "What is this?" And this was like, she didn't see any report cards in my life, and at this time she was frustrated. Not with me.
Well, you
but with
doctored
life.
that other report card, right?
I doctored so much crap, but she didn't really see that one. But I doctored all my report cards, and this time I had to reveal myself. And she was like, "You know what, man? You're gonna flunk out." And that was the conversation. We're like, "Hey, we gotta do something." She said, "No, you're gonna fail." She had her own demons, her own problems. And that's when I went into the bathroom, and I was like, "My God, dude! Like, this is a harsh reality. Your mom is like, you're done." And I'm like, "You are on your own."
So that scene was like, that's how I want to feel, because I was almost Rocky. I could feel how he was feeling. I know the pride he had to feel by, motherfucker, I stood up again.
Right.
And the pride he had to feel after going 15 rounds with the best person. He didn't win, but it wasn't about that. It was the fact that for the first time in his life, he knew he was something. He was somebody. He wasn't just some old bum from the street, as he said. And I wanted that feeling. So I knew to get it, I had to train something like Rocky did, but even harder, because this was a real situation for me. This was real life. So I started to create the real Rocky. I wanted to be the real version of a movie. And that's the hard part, though. That movie's inspirational. And in my life, there's a lot of times in my life it wasn't so inspirational. There's a lot of lonely moments where there was no going the distance song in the background to keep me going.
Yeah, that music changes things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or lack thereof.
Or the lack thereof, man. There's a lot of times, there's a lot of quiet times, a lot of failure, a lot of disappointments, a lot of starting from scratch. But that's when I started to develop a different mentality. And I started to develop a mentality of, this is where it's at. When you find out where you're at is when you're at the fucking lowest part of your life. So I started to develop a whole new mindset. Like, the lowest part of my life used to make me feel bad. The lowest part of my life now, it actually gives me strength, because I know so many people stop. That's where they quit.
Right.
When they get to the fucking sewer of life, versus looking at it saying, "Oh yeah, motherfucker, now let's see what the fuck is up." Let's see what the fuck is up now. Let's see the millions of men out here in this world. They're not going where I'm willing to go now. This is where people stop. And this is where I started to develop the different mentality is. You want to test my resolve? You want to test my ability to go the distance? You want to see where your life ends and mine begins? That's where that mentality started for me. Because I started saying, man, you always end up in the dungeon. You gotta find strength in that motherfucker when no one else does. So that Rocky movie was a little bit of a spark, but to become that person, it takes a lot.